In Greek mythology, the Trojan War was waged against the city of Troy by the Greeks after Paris of Troy took Helen from her husband Menelaus, who was king of Sparta. The war is one of the most important events in Greek mythology and has been narrated through many works of Greek literature, most notably Homer's Iliad. The core of the Iliad describes a period of 4 days and 2 nights in the 10th year of the decade-long siege of Troy. The Odyssey describes the journey home of Odysseus, one of the war's heroes. Helen, the most beautiful of all women and the wife of Menelaus, fell in love with Paris, who took her to Troy. Agamemnon, king of Mycenae and brother of Helen's husband Menelaus, led an expedition of Greek troops to Troy and besieged the city for 10 years because of Paris' insult. The Trojans fled to the safety of their walls of their city. The walls served as fortifications for defense against the Greeks. The build of the walls was so impressive that legend held that they had been built by Apollo and Poseidon, the gods. Menelaus and Paris fought a duel which was interrupted, so the armies began fighting. During the next days, the Trojans drove Greeks back to their camp and they were stopped by the Greeks' wall. The next day though, they broke into the camp and burned the ships. Achilles, the greatest of all Greek warriors, refused to fight, so he allowed his relative and best friend Patroclus to go into battle and wear his armor and shield. Achilles, the greatest of all Greek warriors, refused to fight, so he allowed his relative and best friend Patroclus to go into battle wearing his armor and shield. Patroclus led the army. He was successful, so he drove the Trojans back to the city. However, he was killed by Hector, Prince of Troy. Achilles, maddened with grief over the death of Patroclus, swore to kill Hector in revenge. He returned to the battlefield and slaughtered many Trojans. The Trojan army returned to the city, except of Hector, who remained outside the walls. Achilles killed him, and afterward he dragged his body from his chariot and refused to return the body to Trojan for burial. Afterwards, Priam, king of Troy, father of Hector and Paris, came to Achilles' tent and asked Achilles to return Hector's body. The armies made a temporary truce to allow the burial of the dead. The end of the war came with one final plan. Odysseus devised a new ruse, a giant wooden horse, an animal that was sacred to the Trojans. The hollow of the horse was filled with soldiers, led by Odysseus, and the rest of the army burned the Greek camp and sailed away to hide. When the Trojans discovered that the Greeks were gone, believing the war was over, they joyfully dragged the horse inside the city. They debated what to do with it. Some thought they ought to hurl it down from the rocks, others thought they should burn it, while others said they ought to dedicate it to gods. The Trojans decided to keep the horse and turned to a night of celebration. Later, the soldiers from inside the horse emerged, killed the guards, and opened the gates. The rest of the Greeks' army entered the city, slaughtered the sleeping population, and desecrated the temples. Few of the Greeks returned safely to their homes, and many founded colonies in distant shores. The ancient Greeks believed that Troy was located near the Dardanelles, and that the Trojan War was a historical event of the 13th or 12th century BC. Not a myth, but by the mid-19th century AD, both of the war and the city were widely considered as non-historical. In 1868, however, the German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann met Frank Calvert, who convinced Schliemann that Troy was a real city and is located what is now Hisarlik in Turkey. On the basis of excavations by Schliemann and others, this claim is now accepted by most scholars. Whether there is an historical reality behind the Trojan War remains an open question. Many scholars believe that there is a historical core to the tale, though this may simply mean that the Homeric stories are a fusion of various tales of sieges and expeditions by Mycenaean Greeks during the Bronze Age. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions what to do next, you can write it down in the comments. and I might pick it up for future videos. So thank you again.